Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Marsha.
How are you?
I've been better.
We need to let everybody know what's been going on.
Yes. So I fell down the stairs on Tuesday night, the 9th of April, so just about 2 weeks ago. And turns out when I went to urgent care the next day that I had broken my foot. I fell on the outside of my right foot and right smack on the top of my kneecap. I had broken my right foot and really messed up my knee, but not broken it. So yeah, I've been recuperating from that ever since. I have a boot on my foot now, a big stabilizing boot for the break. And I did get the brace off of my knee, and my knee has a pretty good clean bill of health, although it's still bruised inside and there's still swelling, and the arthritis is aggravated, the doctor said. Just, my normal age-related arthritis of the knee.
Yes.
So it's going to be a while before I'm back to my normal speedy self. But meanwhile, I'm walking with a cane and trying to use ice often. And so that's what's going on.
And you sound different.
Oh, yes. Well, on top of all that, last Friday, I started losing my voice for what seemed like no reason at all. And then over the weekend, it actually materialized into a cold that actually just went into my throat and a little bit into my chest. I think it's probably the same version of the cold that put my nephew and grandniece both into pneumonia. So I'm lucky on that score too. All I did was lose my voice. But it meant another day out of school and a lot of croaking over the weekend where no one could understand me. Ice. Well, I need ice. What? Ice? I need ice.
Oh, dear. Well, we should just back up a little bit. That this all happened the Tuesday night before I arrived. So yes. I arrived the following day, Wednesday morning, and I have to say, Kelly, you texted me the night before that you had a fall, and I said, what did I say? I said something like, it's a sign you're trying to do too much. Just relax, go to bed, don't worry about stuff. Isn't that what I said?
Yes.
Not fully understanding how bad it was.
Well, to be fair, I didn't fully understand how bad it was either. Or
yes. Let
me just say, there was a part of my brain that I think did understand it, but I shut the door on that part really fast. Like the moment I realized, I slammed that door, and then I just continued as though it was just an ordinary fall where all I needed to do was take a few Advil and go to bed, and I'd wake up fine in the morning.
Yeah, but that's not how it was. So
no, poor Marsha had a shock when she saw me.
Yes, I had quite the shock when I saw you, but I recovered from that. I mean, the shock. I'm like, oh, okay, this is now what we're doing. So, but the good news is we were able to go to the Knockers retreat.
Yes.
So, and we just brought Ziploc bags, and a cooler full of ice, and 2 chairs and pillows. And an ace bandages so I would get you propped up someplace with the 2 chairs and your leg up on the pillows or both legs up on the pillows, and then we'd ice the bags of ice, and then you would use the ace bandage to strap those bags of ice to your foot and your knee. And so we did pretty well.
It worked,
and everybody, It worked, and everybody was so helpful. Everybody who was attending the retreat helped out.
Yeah.
And then Brother James, who's from the conference center, he was really nice too. A couple times he actually came with a golf cart and picked you up to take you to meals.
Yeah, that was nice. He was quite concerned about me.
Yeah. And so the main thing is you got to go.
Yes.
I think it would have slowed down your progress of recovery if you had not been able to go.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly.
Yeah, no, I would have been devastated. And the thing about it is I can sit around with my feet up and ice on my joints in a nice place with other knitters or at home, right? And it did save it did save the people here at home from Aunt Betty and Robert from having to do all of that on top of everything else they're doing. It was not to say that your job was easy, Marsha, but you were not otherwise occupied so much, so you had the opportunity to help me out, and a lot of other people were helping out too. So because all we were doing was just enjoying ourselves. Yeah. So and the thing is I felt great. I really felt pretty good. I mean, I had pain and stuff, but I felt pretty good because I was at the retreat and totally distracted, and also I was improving every day. I could see improvement, and now I'm at the stage where I'm not seeing improvement every day, and I'm kind of whiny about that. So, yeah.
Well, I think let's do things this episode in a little bit different order. Since we're talking about the retreat, let's just talk about the retreat before we go into projects. And I think we should also mention, we should remind people what the retreat is, the Knockers retreat. We had a listener contact and said, what is this? What is Knockers? So we should just say a refresher. It stands for Northern California Knitters Retreat. And it's a retreat that's held in San Juan Bautista, California, at the Franciscan Center, and it's organized by two podcasters, or how should I say that? Two podcasters.
Yeah,
there's two people for each two sets of podcasters. So the two Knit Lit chicks, and that's Tracy and Barb, and the Yarniacs. It's Gail and Charlene, and then many other people are helping organize this too.
They have a committee of about 12
They have
people,
a committee of people.
10 or 12 people, yeah.
And so they've been holding this retreat for, I think this is the 5th year?
Yeah, it was 5 years.
I got that right? And I think someone said I think this is how it happened. Someone just suggested that they should have a retreat, and so they did, and they have a slot for, I think there's 60 people. And we fill it up every year. And so there's really there is a slight agenda. There's things that happen, but there's no marketplace. In the past, there's not been classes. The last couple of years, someone has given a talk. This year, there was a discussion of short rows, but it's kind of fun. Everybody gets a door prize. You can participate in a sock yarn exchange. So everybody, if you want to do this, you bring a skein of sock yarn, and there's parameters about what it needs to be in terms of yardage and price. And then you put it in a paper bag, and then all the people who provided a skein of yarn get to then, their names are drawn, and they get to go and take a bag. So that's kind of fun. So you get a different skein of yarn. They have a try-it-on where people bring their different projects, and people can, it's like show and tell, and you can try things on. And and
you can participate kind of in as much or as little of that as you want. Like this year, I participated in almost nothing. Yeah. And there was always somebody around with me who was, just sitting and knitting and not partaking in any of the activities. So it's really very laid back. It's a lot of fun.
And there's somebody there giving massages. If you sign up ahead of time, there's someone giving massages. And then the other part of the question, well, what are knockers? And so there's two different things. There's the Knockers Retreat, which is the, what do you call that abbreviation?
Kind of like an acronym.
Acronym, for the Northern California Knitters Retreat.
NOCKRS.
Right. And then many people participate in knitting knockers. And knockers are hand knit prosthetic breasts for women who've had mastectomies and are waiting for their reconstructive surgery. Mm-hmm. And so many attendees knit those. And then the people who have knit them, they get a raffle ticket. I don't know how it works. I think they get a raffle ticket for each knitted knocker that they contribute, and then they have door prizes for those people. And I think somebody who knits the most gets a prize too.
And they had over 200 of them knit this year.
Yeah.
So that's a really nice, that's kind of the charity that is associated with the retreat. Mm-hmm. So if people are interested, they do have a small number of open spaces each year. And if you're interested, there is a Ravelry group. If you go into groups and just search Knockers, Knockrs, you'll find the Knockers Retreat group in there. And we can link to it too in the show notes. Mm-hmm. And you can check that group out for news about next year's retreat if you're interested in attending.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and we've now, because we've attended 5 years, we know a lot of the people who attend. There was new people. I think weren't there four new people?
Yeah, and that was really fun
nice
too.
So there are spaces opening up periodically, which is nice, and
and the retreat center is beautiful.
The retreat center is beautiful, and I have to say, because of your the fall and your injuries, they were really nice, and they put us in a room right by the it's called the fireside room, is where everybody sits, gathers to knit and spin and crochet, and they put us in a room right next to that, so you didn't have to walk very far.
Yeah.
There was also there was another group having their own event. And so we had to share some of our space, so we didn't have as much space as we've normally had in the past. So the infamous D-stash room had to be relocated.
Yes.
Kelly, where was it? Yes.
It was a very nice location right across the hall from our room.
Right across the hall. So, but I have to say, I really exercised restraint. I took one skein of yarn. There was 2 books that I took. It was knitting patterns based on kimonos.
Oh, right.
So I took that one, and then another book, and then which I probably will read and then pass on, or I'll bring back next year, but I'll pass those on. And then the very last day, as everyone's packing up and leaving, there was a felted project bag that was left in the room, and I thought, okay, I'm taking that thing. I kept looking at it, and it's like, I don't need that. But it was still there the last day, and it was all just going to go to the Goodwill, I think. And I couldn't let that happen, so I just took it.
Yeah, it was cute.
It's very cute, yeah.
Kind of pink and green and...
Yeah, and gray. And I think we were looking at it too, Kelly. I think we decided that we thought it was crocheted and then felted.
Yeah, it was crocheted and felted.
Yeah. And you took a few things too, right? But we were both pretty restrained.
Yeah, I didn't spend as much time in there as I normally do, even though it was close, because I just had limited mobility. But I did get 2 skeins of wool Miza. Those are really pretty. So that was a good score. And then you found me a knitting basket that goes by the couch with the wooden frame. Those old-fashioned ones, which I really like. And then I think that might be it. But Tracy, a Thumperina, actually she's Little Town Knitter now, she brought me some cotton yarn, mercerized cotton yarn. I can't remember the name of it. So I did come home with quite a bit of yarn, because she brought me some yarn that she got from a friend, some D-stash spirit yarn that's mercerized cotton. So I have that filling up that knitting bag. So yeah, but I didn't get, and I got some needles. I did find some needles. And actually there might be something else in there, but I haven't had time. I haven't unpacked.
Yeah. Other things been going on, and you're not mobile.
Well, I could say that's the reason, but I'm not sure that really is. I mean, I'm not sure I'd be unpacked even if I had full use of my legs, but that's another subject.
Yeah. Anyway, it was super fun.
Yeah,
I
really
love going
fun.
down there every year and seeing everybody, and I was happy. I was really happy that you were able to go.
Yeah, me too.
It would have been really, really kind of, heartbreaking not to go.
Yeah, well, you would have gone.
I don't know.
But it still would have been heartbreaking for you to go without me.
Well, I don't know. I was thinking about that. What am I supposed to do?
I would have made you go.
You would have made me go?
If I wasn't able to go, I would have made you go.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really?
Yes. I would have made you go.
Okay.
I mean, why should both of us miss out?
Because somebody had to attend to your ice needs. That's why.
Well, that's why I had to go, because my nurse was going.
Yeah, I was going, so you had to go. Yeah.
So, it was very fun, and I think it did help speed my recovery along, because I was so happy and laughing, and now I'm not laughing so much, I have to say, but I then give myself a stern talking to about how I'm not the first person in the world who ever broke their foot. Get over yourself. Mm-hmm.
So, and now I'm again a little out of order in what we were going to talk about, but since we're talking about the Knockers Retreat and what we got there, we should also talk about, you got one other thing at the, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. You also got a sweater from the
Oh, yes, I did. I forgot all about that. I mean, I forgot to say that.
So you got I remember I said to you, you need to try this sweater on, and it was because I tried it on, but it was just a little too, it looked okay, but it didn't feel super comfortable on me. But anyway, it was a really cute sweater called Austin, and it was designed by Celia McAdam Cahill, who was there at the retreat, and she came in with an armload of sweaters.
Yeah, she does every year bring sweaters to D-Stash.
And put them in the D-Stash room, and there's many people picked up sweaters, and it's a really, really cute sweater. So what I want to say is that we had 4 designers at the retreat, which we should probably just mention.
Okay, yeah.
So there's Celia McAdam McCahill, Brenda Castile, and she designs a lot of shawls.
Yeah, I have one of her shawls, the pistachio ice cream shawl that I made.
Yeah. And Elizabeth Doherty was there. And then the other person who was there, too, was Hetty Craft. And she has designs and some cute sweaters. There's a cute sweater we were looking at just before we started recording.
Yeah, Draken is in the Deep Fall 2018 Knitty issue. And it's a darling sweater.
Yeah. And but the other cool thing is Hetty while we were there, she gave a demonstration of her sock knitting machine.
Oh my gosh, yes, that was fun.
Yes, and I could tell by the look in your eye, Kelly, you're getting one. Maybe not in the next few weeks, but you're going to get one.
I think it would be a fun thing to have. A circular sock machine. And her book is called the CSM, that stands for Circular Sock Machine, the CSM Cookbook by Hetty Craft, Heddi, and then Craft. Her last name is Craft. I think that's very cool.
Yeah, that's her real name, Hetty Craft.
Yeah.
So, and so we were watching in the morning, she did a demonstration of the sock machine, and it was pretty amazing. She could make a sock in 20 to 30 minutes, probably.
Yeah.
From it was fascinating to watch how she did the tube for the ankle, then like the gusset and the heel, and then the toe. And so she said she can make a pair of socks in an hour. Yeah.
That's just
quite amazing.
Pretty cool. I think one of the harder things is getting your sock yarn on a cone. Because you have the sock machine is set up to run yarn off of a cone, like weaving cones. So if you have sock yarn that's in a skein, you have to put it onto a cone first. That might be the longest part in the process. Getting it all wet.
And then the Kitchener stitch. So it was interesting. The Kitchener stitch did not go on like the end of the toe. It went actually on the top of the toe.
Oh,
did you notice that?
No, I don't think I was still there at that point.
Yeah,
I think I needed to go sit down. But I've done a sock that was like that, where you knit. It was a toe up sock, and it started like at the base of your toes, and you knit and decrease down to the like point of the sock, and then you increase, like connecting the front of the sock to the back of the sock. So I'm guessing it was a similar thing where there's like a flap that comes around your toe.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Kind of like commercial socks are.
Mm-hmm. So we'll put, in the show notes, we'll put links to all the designers. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing we need to mention, too, is there was another demonstration. Monica gave an interesting demonstration about how, I did not know what she was talking about at first, but they were called beeswax wraps. And I did not know what that was. And then she gave the demonstration. It's really interesting. It's basically you're just taking cotton cloth and impregnating it with beeswax, I think jojoba oil and...
Pine resin,
yeah.
And that's like a powder. I was surprised to see you can buy that as a powder.
Mm-hmm. And you can do it, she was saying you can do it without the pine resin. It's just that it doesn't stick to itself. So the pine resin makes it sticky. So then you can make one of these... impregnate the cotton with this beeswax, pine resin, jojoba oil mixture. You iron it on like between you put the fabric between parchment paper and then iron it. And then what you can do with that cloth then is you can put it over like bowls to keep things fresh. Or she was showing how you can actually fold them up, like you can just wrap a sandwich in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really
even
cool.
Fold up and make like a little bag out of it to put your carrots in, and they're you just can wash them, and then she was showing too, if they sort of begin to lose some of that wax, you can just re-wax them and use them over and over again. So
I think that's a great idea for my wax, some of my beeswax. In fact, one of the things I like about the wax that I have is that I don't treat my bees for mites. So there's no treatment ever put into their hives, no miticides. And then also, I don't use wax foundation, so my bees don't start off with any wax that comes from the store, the bee store. And the wax that comes from the bee store is wax that the company will buy from beekeepers, but, that wax has treatments in it. They've done tests, and they find the two chemicals that they find a lot are coumaphos and fluvalinate. Neither one of them sound like something you should find in your wax. So the thing about the wax I have is that I could make these covers, and because the wax doesn't have anything in it that shouldn't be in it, they'd be even better. I mean, I don't know how bad it is for you that coumaphos and fluvalinate are in beeswax generally, but if you could, I have wax that doesn't have it, and that's one of the reasons I don't treat, is because I wanted wax that was free of any treatments. So I'm really excited about that as a possibility for using my wax and getting myself to use fewer plastic bags and plastic wrap and stuff.
Yeah.
I had talked a little bit about that as in the goals for the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. And we should spend some time in an episode talking about some of that stuff. If you do a inventory of what you throw away and how bad it really is when you look at what you throw away, and how do you change what you throw away. Yeah, I went down a couple of different rabbit holes of podcasts that got me really thinking, and then partly because I don't run my own kitchen, it's a little harder. But anyway, these wraps would be something that I definitely could do, a change I could definitely make, that I think would make a big difference in how much plastic garbage goes into my trash.
Well, I've made a change already. One change. It's small, but it's significant. So when I go, I take Enzo over to my brother's house for dinner, or our Saturday dinners at my mom's house or Kim's house. I always bring a bag of dog food for him. I just put in a Ziploc bag. I put his cup of dog food in there in a Ziploc bag, and then throw the Ziploc bag away once he's used it. So I thought, well, now that is stupid. So just put it in a plastic container, a Tupperware container. You can just keep reusing it, right? So that's what I'm doing now. Yeah. So that was just kind of a silly thing that I was doing. It was mindless.
Right. And
just
that's
not thinking. So.
And that was when I started listening to these podcasts and reading some of the blogs. This was back in January. I discovered a few of those kinds of things and thought, okay, I should really sit down and, that was part of my resolution was, okay, so I should really sit down and think about where I'm doing that kind of thing. But I haven't gotten to that. That's all right. It's a goal for 2019, so I'll try to do it before the end. And it would be a fun thing to talk about too. But anyway, these wraps are really cool. I'm going to try to make some. I meant to bring some of your beeswax home, and I completely forgot about it. No, I was so tired after the retreat, just tired from having such a great time, that you and I both fell asleep for a couple hours in the sunroom. And then I completely forgot about getting any beeswax to bring home to make some of the beeswax wraps. But anyway. Yeah.
So I think the last thing I'd just like to say about the Knockers Retreat is just to thank everybody, Barb and Tracy and Charlene and Gail and everybody else who got door prizes and the gift bags and for organizing this every year. I really appreciate it. So
it is really a highlight.
Yeah, super fun.
And I'm so glad I didn't have to miss it.
I know, it would have been terrible.
So, Marsha, have you done any knitting since the last time we talked?
Yes. Well, I did a lot of knitting at the retreat. You did a fair amount too, right?
Actually, I didn't do as much as I thought I would. I think it goes to show how my brain and body were really working underneath the fun of being at the retreat. I would forget to knit, and I don't usually do that. I'm not the kind of person who goes to a retreat and doesn't get any knitting done. Yeah. But I'd be sitting there, and suddenly I would realize, oh, I haven't gotten my knitting out yet. And then I was knitting on a short sock. That was my project. Because on Tuesday night when I had my accident, I still had not settled on what I was bringing to the retreat. So I had Marsha pick there's a bunch of yarn on a table in my sunroom.
That's putting it mildly, Kelly.
Yeah, so leftover sock yarn from Argyle socks, other leftover sock yarn. Anyway, it's a bunch of yarn. And so I said to Marsha, just pick something and I'll use it to make socks. So she picked the leftovers from, it's a Duren Dyeworks, and the colorway is called Sunflower, but I bought it because it looked like bees, and I was going to make those humble bee socks. And then I ended up ripping, I had hardly started them, so I ripped them out and I used the yarn instead to make my sister a pair of those Joe's Perfect Slipper socks at Christmas. So anyway, what was left over was already in 2 separate balls and looked like it would be enough to make a pair of short socks. So that's what Marsha selected for me to knit with at the retreat, and so that's what I was knitting. But the other thing that I did was, I did 2 things. So first, I cast on, counted my stitches, because I usually use 64, counted my stitches, I had 64, started knitting, and realized I actually had 66, which doesn't work with ribbing, 2x2 ribbing. So I have one rib that's like 4 stitches wide, and the rest of them are 2x2. And then another. No
one's going to be looking at your ankles. So.
No. And then another place, I was purling instead of knitting, and knitting instead of purling, and I just left it. I just left it in there and just kept going. So, and that's not
Well,
the
and
kind of
also,
mistake I usually make either.
Well, and also, do you remember, and I'm not trying to point out your mistakes, but Kelly, but just that your state of mind.
Yeah.
You were going to do the sock
right.
in the yellow sunflower, and then weren't you going to do the heel and the toes in a sort of a chocolate brown? Mm-hmm. And you completely forgot about that.
Yeah, just totally
right?
spaced,
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, so then I was
your mind was elsewhere,
wondering
and that's
about,
totally fine.
Yeah, so I was wondering about yarn chicken, but I ended up having enough to make the entire sock out of the yellow and only have just a little bit left. So that's good. So I'm not finished with the second sock, but right now I'm knitting on them as we speak, and I'm maybe 2 rows from starting the toe decreases. So so that whole pair of socks will be done soon, maybe tonight.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice. And what else did you work on?
Well, I did bring the Koru cardigan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now that sweater is in timeout because stitches popped off the needle because I set it down carelessly. And not at the retreat, but I put that away. I put that away after the first night of the retreat. I thought, I can't knit this here at the retreat. But I picked it back up and I started working on it and I set it down. And I don't know. I'm careless about setting down my knitting. I'll just say it. So I have no idea how it happened. Did I fall asleep while I was knitting? Did I set it down? Did something interrupt me? I do not know. I could have just set it down carelessly. And stitches popped off. And it has yarn overs and knit 2 togethers. And so now I'm short a stitch. And I know it has to do with the yarn over, but I tried to put it back in and it wasn't quite in the right place. It didn't look right. And now I'm at the point where it's kind of at the bust. And I don't want a mistake.
Yeah.
And it's on the front. I don't want a mistake there. So I have to rip it back about 4 or 5 rows.
Oh, that's not so bad.
No, it's not horrible. I just have to find... Finding things has been such a challenge. I never realized how many times I wander around the house looking for something.
Now that you're not mobile.
Yes, now that I wish I could just go right to the place, or even better, direct Robert right to the place. Because one of the things that irritates him most is when I ask him to go get something and it's not where I told him it was going to be. We've gone through that little routine multiple times in the last 2 weeks. It's not here. Oh, well, maybe it's here. It's not here. Oh, well, try this place. Don't you know where you keep stuff? No, I don't know where I keep stuff. So, anyway. Yeah, so I just have to find my... I want a small needle, like a size 1 circular needle to run through all the stitches so I can backtrack, so I can just rip it out instead of having to tink. Unknit it, yeah. So it's just sitting for a little while. I'll go back to it. It's not in danger of not getting finished. I just need a moment when I'm in the right frame of mind. Yes.
Yeah.
So
I know sometimes you have to work yourself up to it.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's going to be ripped. I don't have a problem with that. It's just I have to sit down and run the needle all the way through everything. Yeah. So anyway, that's that. And then I also have a new project. So the socks are new. I started those since the last time we recorded because I started them right at Knockers. The other thing I started the other day. I think I started on the weekend. I decided I wanted to practice my double knit even more. So I went into the bundle, the bundle that we featured last time that has the designers of color from the Solidarity Swap. I did an advanced pattern search. I think I talked about this last time that you can do this. You can select patterns and then select the advanced pattern search and then say you want to search on patterns. So I did that, and then I also put in double knit and I put in hat. And I got a pattern called the Double Trouble Reversible Beanie. And it's by the Petite Knitter. She has some cute patterns. This one is a double knit hat. It doesn't have any color work, so it's one color on one side and one color on the other. It's just 2 layers of fabric, which is really nice. I mean, that would be a nice hat, I think. But I decided as I was going, first I thought I'll just do it just like this and practice my tension and all that. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to play around a little bit with the color. So I started putting in different stitch designs, playing with remembering, like, how does it work and understanding the logic of how you do color changes. Because when I took the class at Stitches, I was having trouble. I was following the pattern for the color work, but it was not, the logic of it wasn't there. I was just doing what the pattern said. And thinking, wait, this seems wrong. Oh, no, wait. No, that's right. Okay. That kind of thing. And now I have a clear sense of what you have to do when you switch colors. So that's been really good. I'm almost to the part where you do the decreases. I made it in sport weight instead of worsted weight because I'm using some spirit yarn from a long ago D-stash. And yeah, so I'm really happy with double knitting. It's fun. Next, I think I'm going to do pot holders.
Okay. And you're working your way up to the bee blanket, right?
Yeah, that's my goal. I would like better tension, and the instructor for the class that I took, she was showing how if you knit continental, there's a yarn guide that you can buy, a clover yarn guide that you can buy that you string the 2 strands through and you can control them nicely. But I don't knit continental, I throw, so I'm having to pick up one yarn and then pick up the other yarn and pick up one yarn and pick up the other yarn. So I'm debating whether I need to first practice purling. I can knit continental. I don't typically do it, but I know how, and it's not awkward. But I can't purl continental. It's very awkward. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll practice that. And if I got good enough at purling continental style, then I could use the yarn guide instead of just being slow. But I don't know. That's still up for thought. I'm not sure I want to first get comfortable with purling continental and then get comfortable again with double knit. So we'll see. But yes, I'm definitely working up to that bee blanket. It's going to take me freaking forever.
Well, we won't talk about that right now.
No.
we won't get discouraged by that.
Right.
But you will. But the thing is, the hat, doing pot holders, you will get faster.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah.
And by the time you do a whole blanket, you'll be
and
pretty speedy.
Yeah, and it's not like I need to knit fast. I just don't want to be awkward.
Yeah.
So
it's not fun if you're awkward.
Right. I want it to feel comfortable. Even if it's slow, I want it to feel comfortable. So I'm getting more and more comfortable with it as I go along. But it's very fun. It just the idea that you're magically making 2 layers of fabric is really cool. And it reminds me of a sock pattern or a sock, I don't know if it was even a pattern. Somebody I knew when I was taking the weaving class, I think it was when I was taking weaving, one of the women in there was also a knitter, and she would knit her socks 2 at a time with one inside the other. So like double knit, except they were not connected at any point.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think, that's kind of cool too.
Yeah,
But anyway, it's magic. It feels like magic that you're making 2 layers of fabric at the same time. So that's my other project, and I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got the 2 new ones, the shortie socks that are almost done, the double knit hat, and then my Koru that's sitting and waiting. And the Koru cardigan, for just to remind you, the designer of that is Francois Denoy, Aroha Knits. So I think she goes by Frenchie. I follow her on Instagram. So she has some nice patterns too. So what about you?
Well, I brought 3 projects to the retreat and ended up working on one most of the time. But I brought my socks, my vanilla socks, just out of that.
Oh, the one from Aberdeen.
The yarn is Little Fish Stitches, the one from Aberdeen, Washington. Mm-hmm. And I think I worked on that on the plane a little bit, but I didn't pick it up at all at the retreat.
Are they like the Pismo Beach socks? They just came along for the ride?
Yes, they're just going to go with me everywhere. Actually, where am I on them though? I think I'm doing I finished one sock and I'm doing the, I'm in the middle of the gusset. I have a few more rows of the gusset.
Oh, okay. So you're almost done with them.
And then I just have to do the foot and the toe. So I'm making
They won't be like the Pismo Beach socks.
No. I'm hoping I'll never have another pair of Pismo Beach socks. Anyway, and then I worked on, at your house, I worked on, because I was trying to get it done, sort of the complicated part before the retreat, but the Lace Market by Marie Greene. It's the t-shirt I'm making out of the Schoppel El Linio. It's the linen. And I wanted to get down to below the arms where you do all the finagling then you can just start the body, put the sleeves on waist yarn, just do the body. And I didn't get that far. My stitch counts were off a little bit on the body and the arm, and so I was having to sort of think about it. And so that's not retreat knitting if you have to think. So I didn't really work on it at all at the retreat, but I did work on Cobblestone, which is the Jared Flood sweater for Brooklyn Tweed. And I'm using the new Lanark Mill DK that I bought in Scotland last year, and I'm making this for my brother. And I knit pretty much the whole body down there.
Yeah, you are almost... In fact, you started your sleeve, right, before you left?
Yes, I finished the body up to... So to remind people, it's a different construction is you knit the body from the waist up to the armholes, then knit your sleeves, attach them, and knit the yoke. So right now I have finished the first sleeve, and I'm going to say finish, I'm making air quotes, quote unquote, finished it. And then and now right now as we're talking, I'm working on the second one. But what I did is I just did a provisional cast. You're supposed to cast on, knit the cuff, and then knit up to till the sleeve is like 19 inches long. But I felt looking at other people's projects, they were a little too long. And so I think it's better to be able to wash and block the sweater and try it on when it's complete and then go back and finish the cuffs. Right. So I did a provisional cast on for the arms.
And this is your trademark. If you're ever a sweater pattern designer, this will be your trademark. That you believe that you can't tell anything about the sleeves until the collar is done. Mm-hmm. And so, you've done this with a lot of sweaters.
I have, and I've also done it like even with a top-down sweater. I don't finish the sleeves until I've washed and blocked it because it does.
Mm-hmm. And the collar and the button band is on.
Yeah, all of that is done because I think it does change. Well, I think the collar definitely changes how the sweater's going to fit through the shoulders and the sleeves. And then with this one, too, with the way it's constructed...
Yeah, you can't tell.
Everybody's arms are different, so even though it tells you to make I think it says to knit them till they're 19 inches long, well, where's that going to hit under the arm? I mean, where's that sleeve going to hit? Mm-hmm. I don't really know till you... So anyway, that's how I'm doing it. So I've got, the sleeves are 14 inches right now, which is leaving me, and I think the cuff is 2 inches, so it gives me more room to sort of play around with length. So, but the other thing I want to say about the sleeves, Kelly, is, do you remember I was sitting there and I cast on using my double pointed needles, and I thought, I'm going to try magic loop.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm doing the sleeves magic loop, and I have to tell you, I like magic loop.
Oh, good.
So it's I like knitting with this. I don't know how it would be with a pair of socks. Probably easy. I don't know. But I just find this to be really... Getting started is a little more complicated, I have to say. but once you understand how you're doing it, it's really simple. And I think I would say I'm a Magic Loop fan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
that's good.
Yeah, that's good. The other thing I'm going to say about the sweater too is I'm making the size small. Let me see. Yes, I'm making the size small. And I figured out doing the math to figure out my gauge, measuring my brother, measuring the sweaters that he liked, the way they fit, blah, 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 all this stuff that all knitters go through. I finally decided to make the small but add 10 stitches. Because if I went up, the next size was just too big. Mm-hmm. So this is what I've decided to do. And but I was knitting on it down there at the retreat, and I'm looking at it, it's like, wow, that's small. It looks really, like, I have to trust the math.
Yeah.
But it's looking really small to me. And
still.
Yes, so what I did is and the other thing, do you remember I was talking in one episode that I splurged and I bought myself a set of the Knitter's Pride needles, where you get all the different needles in a package and all these little connecting cables. Well, you also can there's a connector, you can join 2 cables to make one really, really long cable. And then there's stoppers. You can take the needles off and put stoppers on there, which is really great. If you, instead of having to take the whole thing off, the sweater off and putting on a waste yarn, you can just put it on that cable. So I did that, and then I thought, I'm going to wash and block the body just to make sure.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes, I did. So I washed, and it's perfect. I think it's going to be perfect.
Oh, good.
So I measured it, and his chest is 38. And it's blocking out to 42, so it's 4 inches of positive ease, which I think will be fine.
Yeah.
And the other thing I have to remind myself is I've only made sweaters for myself. And what's the difference between my body and my brother's body? I have a few accessories. I have 2 accessories that he doesn't have on his chest. Yes. So I keep thinking, like, it looks so small, but he's just straight. So,
right.
Yeah. So
no bust shaping, no waist shaping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad you have more confidence now that it's the right size.
Yeah.
That you were able to.
Yeah. You have to trust the math, Kelly, right?
Yeah, but you also have to test it sometimes.
Yeah.
If you're feeling like, there's nothing wrong with washing, blocking, trying on. Mm-hmm. What you did that? You did also the washing and blocking to test something else too.
It was another sweat. It was another Heidi Kermeyer's. No, I'm sorry. Was it Heidi Kermeyer or Isabel Kramer? I can't remember. And it was the orange one out of the was it Imperial Stock Ranch.
Okay.
Opteca.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I'm pulling up my projects really quickly. Bear with me here. Yes, Opteca. And the pattern designer it's loading here. Isabel Kramer is who it is, yeah.
Okay.
That's the one that I did. I was worried, so I washed and blocked the body before I...
yeah.
Because this one I knit... How did I do this one? Oh, this is top down. Yes, I'm looking at it. I have a picture here. I did it. It's top down. And it looks like I did about 5 inches down from the underarm, and then I washed and blocked it to see, because I was worried.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway.
Well, good. That's good news about your brother's sweater.
Yeah. And then I just have to mention my rabbit, the Claire Garland rabbit. Remember I said I was going to finish it and take it to the Knockers retreat? Mm-hmm. Well, I finished his body. I sewed him up. He has one little gap, like a little 3-inch gap. I stuffed him with his stuffing, and I was so busy before I left that I thought, you know what? This is not fun anymore. I'm just trying to get this rabbit done. So he's sitting in his basket. But he's got like a big slash on his body where he has to be sutured up.
And then he has legs. He has legs?
He doesn't have legs yet, because you have to suture his body, but seam his body, and then I have to knit the legs separately and attach those.
The back legs, right.
And then, weave in the ends. And I have to do a little bit. You do some little strategically placed stitches to give him the shaping.
Oh,
like
right.
For his head and his...
Like little tucks.
Yeah, little tucks, kind of, yeah. So I have to do that. And then I thought, I should finish him for Easter. No, that didn't happen either. So he'll make an appearance. I'm so close. I just need to sit down and do it.
But you have a lot of things that are close, and so that's always fun.
Yeah.
You have things to choose from, and sometimes it's more fun to finish a sweater than it is to finish a toy.
Yeah. And I'm enjoying knitting this sweater for my brother, too. It's a nice pattern.
And the yarn is gorgeous.
Yeah, he really likes it.
That new Lanark Mill yarn is really pretty.
Yeah. And he's going to London in May. I think May 11th or something.
Oh, okay.
And so
you have a deadline.
I was hoping to have it done. I actually thought he was going later in the month, but he's actually going earlier in the month. So I don't have much longer to...
Yeah.
I may not get it done, but we'll see. I'm trying. But anyway, so that's it for me on projects.
Okay.
And let's see. We need to talk about... we have a thank you we have to say.
Yes. So, for a while now, Marsha has been a little annoyed.
Oh, yes. I wasn't going to bring this up, but you can talk about it.
I'll bring it up for you, Marsha. Marsha has been just annoyed because when you go in and you look at our reviews on Apple Podcasts, the very top review that would show up was someone from 2 years ago who was irritated with us because we had an episode where I thought, talked very carefully and...
I think thoughtfully.
And thoughtfully, yeah, about, not really about the election, but just about kind of people's feelings and people having the feelings of being divided. Anyway, I won't go back through that whole episode.
Yeah, we're not going to rehash it.
I don't remember what episode number it was, but it was a January episode 2 years ago.
Well, it was prompted because we both had participated in the Women's March, and we were all, and how great, I mean, it was really incredibly fun, the march. It was very positive.
And we had resolutions come out of it, like my resolution for generosity of spirit. Anyway, I thought we worked really hard on the episode. I'll just say it took us a long time to decide what we were going to say and how we wanted to say it, and we thought a lot about it. And we had a negative review, a 1-star review, from someone who was just irritated with us that we took time to talk about something that was happening in the world. And so that's the one that was showing at the top, even though it was 2 years old.
Yes. And it was bugging me.
It was really bugging Marsha. And a couple of times I said, well, Marsha, we should just ask people to give us reviews. And then there will be some new reviews maybe, and then it won't be bugging you so much.
Yeah.
And I even said, hey, Marsha, you know what? If you told people how much this is bothering you, I know people would go in and do reviews. Because there are people who really enjoy the show who probably haven't done a review yet. So, but she couldn't do it.
I couldn't make myself do it. No, it seemed wrong.
And we kind of forgot, but yeah, mostly it's Marsha not feeling comfortable doing that. So anyway, it's been a while.
Long story short, we're grateful, right?
Yes, we're very grateful because we had a review from Ohio Gal Joni, and it was in, I believe, March. I didn't see it during March, but I saw it fairly recently. And so Ohio Gal Joni, I think, was the name of the person on Apple Podcasts who gave us this nice review. And so now that one's at the top. And so when people go look at our reviews, they see something really nice.
Yes.
So yeah, and Marsha's a lot happier. In fact, what she says is, this is super nice. It was from March 7th, 2019. I always learn, fantastic. I always learn something and I always laugh. Wonderful podcast. Now that is so nice. Thank you.
That's so nice, yeah.
Thank you, Joni. I don't know what your Ravelry name is, but maybe you aren't on Ravelry. But anyway, thank you so much.
You've made me so happy. I'm not irritated every time I listen to the podcast, and that pops up. So.
And she brought it up to me about 4 times. So I know she was really irritated by it, because usually Marsha doesn't do that. She'll bring something up once, but no, she brought it up repeatedly.
Yeah. So I'm glad. I'm very appreciative. So
yeah.
And then Kelly, we have another along. Let's talk about our along.
So we started talking about it last week, and I've heard from quite a few people who are excited about it. So this is called the Knot Along. Mm-hmm. And I'm still not sure if we're going to spell it with a K or not. Ha ha ha. But in any case, the idea is something that is not knitting, not crochet, not weaving. Mm-hmm. And maybe we should say not spinning, since those are the usual ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we will say that. What do you think? Do you think that's right too?
Well, you've eliminated one of my categories then. So
okay, good, perfect.
No, I know what I'm going to do now. So I know what my knot along my project's going to be.
Okay, good. Yeah, so we'll do a big reveal. We'll do a big reveal later. Don't tell us yet.
Yeah.
So there are some people talking about punch needle rug hooking. There's some people talking about other kinds of rug making. Raya. Stella said she has a Raya rug that has been languishing for quite a while. And then some people are talking about needle shuttle tatting, lace making with a tatting shuttle. I still think bobbin lace would be really fun, and would mean I have to buy equipment, which is also really fun. I'm trying to think of some of the others that people have talked about. I can't remember now just right offhand. There's that null bending that you do with kind of a needle. There's embroidery. I think someone talked about embroidery or crewel work. So there's a variety of things that people can do. All sorts of different fun things. And maybe, since this is going to be happening in the summer, maybe I can use this as an excuse or a pitchfork in my behind to get me to finally go up to Berkeley to Lacis, which is a shop for lace making things, and they have a museum, and they have all kinds of lace making equipment.
But it has to be fiber related.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have to put a new deck in. Building a new deck doesn't count.
That doesn't count. No, that does not count. Has to be fiber related. Some kind of needlework, yarn work, macrame. You could do macrame. Anyway, there's a lot of choices, and I'm sure there's many others that I haven't even mentioned.
Okay.
That's going on starting May 31st, and it will go until the end of summer. I actually go back on August 10th, but I don't even want to think about that. That's way too early. So I'm going to say it ends on August 31st. So that gives people all of June, all of July, all of August to do something that's not the usual. And then share it with us. So that's the plan. So I guess I could put up a chatter thread about this so that people can start talking about what they might want to do. That would be kind of good.
I think so.
I'll do that. Okay. And what about Enzo, Marsha? You have something here about Agility League?
Yes. So I'm doing. Of course, I'm continuing with Agility 3 with Enzo, but on Friday. So I go Fridays at noon. But they've also started an Agility League, and they call it Agility League, but it's just for 8 weeks, I think. And so what you do, I could not go last Friday because I was down waiting on you. But I went this last Friday, and anyway, so it's kind of fun too because Cheryl, the trainer, has wine and beer and popcorn for everybody.
Oh,
not
fun!
The dog. The popcorn. The dogs get some of the popcorn, but we get the wine and beer. I was a little too stressed out to have any wine and beer, but maybe I should have some wine and beer.
Anyway, pick one. Don't have both.
Yeah. So it's like so normally when you go to the class, she has the equipment set up, and you just do it you have a warm up on some of the equipment, and then you practice on the equipment in various stages, and then what I don't know what you call it in agility. I'm just going to call it the run. Like where you're going to do your course, run this course. What she has you do is you're practicing different stages of the course, and then we combine the whole thing together. She has mapped. You go in there, and she's mapped out the entire course. There's, I believe there were 6 or 8 dogs. I think now I can't remember. And we go in order of size. So the smallest dogs go first. So Enzo was the last because he was the tallest. And she's mapped out the course. And so you have to memorize the course. She has a little sheet of paper, and so you have to memorize it. She lets you go and walk the course first.
Okay, so kind of like a practice trial.
Yeah. No treats. And then you just do the course. But it's so funny. I was just like laughing. It was so funny. He's not the worst dog, but he's definitely not the best dog. And actually, it has nothing to do with, I have to rephrase that. I am not the worst, but I'm definitely not the best either, because it's really about me, and so it's interesting because it's not a class. It's so but she can't help herself. She has to give us some instruction too, right? But it really is
Teachers
fun.
got to teach.
Teachers got to teach, yeah. Anyway, it was really fun, and then she gives out prizes for who had the best run with the fewest mistakes. And then I can't think what the second prize was for, but like doing one element of the run really well. And we didn't get anything. That's fine, because that's not the point. The point is just to have fun.
Yeah.
And it really was fun. And then what's also really good too is, I don't know that I'm ever going to do this competitively, but if I do, one thing I was thinking after I went down to the Seattle Dog Show is the dogs need to have an audience. They have to get used to doing these runs with an audience. And when you're in class, you don't have an audience. I mean, there's just the people who, the dogs and their handlers. So now there was people that brought friends, and so there's a lot of people, and they were reacting if the dog did something really well, or something really funny, or something just really so cute, that you couldn't, help but react to it, or they missed the jump or something, they would gasp, and so that's really good. But that's good training for the dog to. Because Enzo's not had that.
Right.
But he's really good on like the A-frame and the jumps, but this was what we were really, and the tunnel, all that kind of stuff he does really well. We're really struggling with the weaves.
Yeah, that's one of the harder ones I've heard.
Yeah.
Because it's not
really
as
hard.
fun for the dog.
But all of them love the tunnel. And it's interesting, the tunnel is really hard to get them into the tunnel the first time, because it seems they can't see the end of it, and it's a little scary, I think. But once they learn that they like it, they love it. And all the dogs, pretty much, except the one dog that did the perfect run, pretty much every single dog went through the tunnel when they were not supposed to go through the tunnel. It's like magic to them.
Tempting, yeah.
Oh, it's super tempting, yeah.
How
and
funny.
But one of the things we really struggle with the weaves, and then also they put the jumps, instead of being parallel to each other, that they jump over them. They're what would that be? They're on end. So they have to do, I think they call it a serpentine or something. There's two different ways they had to go. When they had to go over go over the jump away from you, call them back between the jumps. Over the second one away from you, call them back, and the third one. And then the serpentine is they go over the first jump away from you, you call them back, they come over the second jump, and you push them away over the third jump. And then have to go sit on the table. And he got some of them, but some of them it was all me, because Cheryl, always teaching, said, "Stop, Marsha, and look at where your body's placed." And it's like, oh, I'm standing right in front of the jump that I want him to go over. Like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Move, Mom.
So, yeah. So, it was interesting. It was really fun. So I'm going to do that again on Friday night, and I'll see. Maybe Mark will want to come. Oh no, he's going to be out of town, but maybe Kim will come and watch. Kind of fun to have someone come and watch, Or Ben maybe will come. But anyway, it was fun. Yeah.
Nice.
And bees. What's going on with the bees?
So I had Robert help me. He did all the lifting, and I just did the inspecting. And I took my 2 hives and I split them to 4 before the retreat. I mean, about a month and a half ago. And I needed to look to make sure that everything was progressing well in those 4 hives. And so it looks like it is. There's one that's kind of questionable. I thought, they don't seem like they have a queen, but I could see that there was brood. I mean, pretty young brood too, like like what you would see after, like 4 days after the egg is laid and 4 or 5 days after the egg is laid. So at least 4 or 5 days ago, there was a queen in that hive. I don't know what happened. Or maybe I just didn't see her. I don't know. So that was pretty good news. And then I looked in the one that was the swarm. I think I had mentioned, maybe on the last show, or maybe just in the Ravelry group, that I had a swarm move into my swarm lure. And so I've been watching it, and it didn't look very super active. And so I was really curious to get in there and look. And when I went in and looked, they were so small. It was, I mean, maybe not even a cup full of bees, which is way too few. But there was a queen, and they were building wax. And I thought, okay, I don't want to waste these bees. I especially don't want to waste this queen because she's new genetics for my apiary. And if she's feral, she's not from someone else's beehives who keeps bees, but maybe she's from the tree in my yard, that hive. If she's feral, she might have some good genetics to introduce. And so I didn't want to waste her. So I got some frames of brood and nurse bees out of one of the stronger hives, made sure the queen wasn't on it, which luckily I found the queen, so I could say, okay, the queen's on this frame. I'm putting this one to the side, and I'm picking from one of these others. So I picked a couple of frames, and I put them into the other hive to prop them up a little bit. And I kind of think I might be throwing good money after bad, or throwing good bees after bad, or however. But I had to do something to help them. They were just so small. I mean, they were working so hard. Like, I wanted to say, oh, bless your little hearts. because they were working so hard. They were building wax but it was tiny, this little piece of wax, and they had brought pollen in, and they had pollen stored, and I was like, oh, this is just sad. So anyway, I did feed them sugar water, which I don't notice that they've been really taking the sugar water. So maybe they have enough stores in the frames that I gave them. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that I gave them enough bees that it will. I gave them enough bees to serve them for now, and the frames of brood will hatch or emerge. The new bees will emerge from the comb within like 9 days, 9 to 10 days of when it was capped. So I don't know when the actual caps got put on the brood. So anywhere in the next 10 days from when I put them into that 10th day, there should be new bees emerging to help raise up the population a little bit. So that's, and if that works, and I actually have now 5 colonies, I'll be super excited. But even if I only have 4 or 3, it's still 4 would be better. That means I doubled my original. But it's like propagating plants in the garden. You plant a certain number, and you can't really expect that 100% of what you plant is going to make it. So that was kind of exciting. And the other thing that I decided, because of my injuries, I'm not going to be able to lift boxes of honey. And so if I just keep splitting my hives, like if I focus on making new colonies, I won't get a lot of honey. But I also won't have, my hives will all be small. I'll have more hives, they'll all be smaller. I won't have any big boxes to lift, and that's probably much better for me for this bee season. I do have a beekeeper friend, a woman that works with Robert, who has offered to come and help me do inspections, but she's not going to be able to come help me do inspections every week or 2 weeks through the whole summer. So it'll be better if I make the hive something that I can manage better with my current status. So but it'll be nice to have some. I mean, it'll help me make new genetics for my apiary. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And then recommendations.
Well, I just have one, and it's kind of obvious. But don't carry a bunch of crap when you walk up the stairs in the dark.
Because you end up in this situation.
Yes, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I had a computer. I was helping the dog. I had my phone with the light on. I had a glass of wine. I mean, that's just too much stuff to have in your hands when you're going up the stairs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Lesson learned.
Yes. Well, I hope so.
and also listen to yourself, because you told me too that you had like that really brief little moment where you think this maybe is not such a good idea,
Yes.
and then that thought just flitted away.
Yes, I did. Yeah, exactly. I thought, I'll just let Rudy go up the last few steps herself because this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
And look what happened. So
well, I have a recommendation, because I don't think since we started this I've not had any recommendations. So I'm going to make a recommendation. It's a recipe.
Oh, good.
So I'm making this tonight, and it's a spicy red lentil soup. Do you remember for my birthday, Kim gave me a Moroccan cooking class?
Oh, uh-huh.
And it was held at the Puget Consumer Co-op, and it was taught by Nancy Leeson, who's the food writer for the Seattle Times. And so it's in her packet. There's other recipes in here, but this is the recipe in the packet, the soup. There was also a chicken recipe and everything, but this is the soup. Anyway, I was just looking at this before we started recording, and she modified the recipe from Lynn Rossetto Casper's cookbook, The Splendid Tables, How to Eat Weekends.
Oh, okay.
And so anyway, I will scan the recipe and I can post it. I guess I can just post a PDF probably I don't know, actually, I'm not sure how I do that.
We'll figure
it out. That's not interesting. That's not good podcasting to talk about. We'll figure that out. But that's what I'm going to make tonight, and it's my favorite lentil soup recipe.
Okay, cool.
So it's really good. So
yeah, we'll have to share that.
Yeah, I'll share that. And then I have one last little thing. I did have a little adventure.
Oh, good.
Before Knockers, actually the weekend before I went down to California to see you and go to the Knockers retreat, I went to Whidbey Island. Up in Oak Harbor, and the Whidbey Weavers Guild had a spin-in, and it was April 6th and 7th, and so I went up for that. It wasn't really well publicized, so I didn't know exactly what was going to be going on, but I get up there, and there was a featured talk by Amelia Garapoli, and Saturday she talked about the color wheel and about combining colors. And also what was really interesting, she talked about how different cultures see colors differently.
Oh, wow.
So, for example, the one thing I really remember is, white is associated in this country with weddings and
or like baptism,
christenings and stuff like that, where white in other cultures is associated with death. Like I think she said in Japan.
Yeah.
And then how we see green is associated with envy and money, where in Middle Eastern culture green is associated with renewal, because
like spring.
The spring grass and spring green leaves and stuff. So that was just interesting just to hear about that. And then the second day, I didn't know she was going to do this, but the second day was talking about spinning braids. And if you get these color block braids, and what do you do with them, in different ways of spinning them. So she covered fractal spinning and like how you split the braids can determine, like you can just... Like one thing is if there's a color in there that you really hate, just take it out and use it in another project, or ways you can combine that color in a way that you'll like it in your braid. So she went over all these different techniques. It was very interesting.
Okay.
So that was just that was really fun, and that was sort of a surprise because I didn't know that was going to be happening.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. So
bonus classes.
Yeah. Anyway. So, do we have anything else that we need to talk about?
No, I think that's about it.
We covered it. Huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've done quite a bit of knitting. I've done 2 inches on my sleeve.
All right.
While we've been talking.
I'm almost finished with the toe of my short sock.
All right.
So that's good.
Productive.
My bee colored short sock. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this has been a productive little chat.
All right. Well, Kelly, I guess we'll say goodbye and we'll talk and we are a little off because we were going to record last week.
Yeah. I just couldn't do it.
You were not feeling well at all. So I think
I needed a nap.
We'll get back on track. We'll get back on track.
Yeah.
So.
And we do still have a giveaway thread for the 20 stitches pack of note cards. So go ahead to our Ravelry group if you haven't already done that and get entered to win a pack of note cards from 20 stitches. They're note cards that are punched and that you embroider. They're really, really nice. Yeah. And we'll be drawing for those next episode.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
All righty. We'll talk.
Okay, bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.